everyone, and welcome to the Burley broadcast. Today we're going to be going over an important topic, LGBT education and representation in schools. School is where a diverse group of students spend more than 6 hours a day, which is why this is such an important topic to address. All students should feel safe and welcome at their school. When a school lacks education on a group, it can lead to bullying and discrimination towards that group, which is why LGBT youths are almost twice as likely to get bullied or harassed by their peers. Because of this, many people have or know someone that has been bullied for their sexual orientation. One of these people is senior at BHS, Mark Laurie. When asked if anyone he knew had been bullied for their sexuality, he said,
I know people who have in fact been victim of bullying and harassment from their sexuality. It's mostly guys that get bullied for being gay and bi, tolerance to be put around, and visibility.
A similar answer comes from high school senior Carolina Lane.
I myself have never been bullied or harassed for my sexuality, but I do know a lot of people who have been, either by their school's administration or by their peers or even their own parents, giving them a hard time because they're either queer or trans.
To go off of that question, I also asked if they considered BHS to be a welcoming school. In response to this question, Mark said,
I do not believe that BHS is a welcoming place. I feel like people are subject to a lot more issues at BHS in general because everyone believes that we're some super community, but it's just not true. Just because we have different people there doesn't mean that they're all accepted.
When asked the same question, Callie answered,
I think overall BHS is a pretty welcoming place. It mostly depends on what class you're in. I've had teachers who are openly queer themselves, and that makes it much more comfortable. But I've also had teachers who don't really know how to talk about that in the most welcoming way, but I think overall it's a pretty welcoming place to be openly LGBT.
The main takeaway from these answers is that although BHS is better than some schools, it still isn't the most welcoming place for LGBT students. From an article by Associations of Adolescent Bullying Involvement, it says LGBT students experience disproportionate bullying compared to their heterosexual peers. And this idea agrees with what we've been hearing from our two high school seniors. This bullying is likely a large factor in why LGBT students are 3 times more likely to develop a mental health condition like major depressive disorder or anxiety disorder. In an article titled Making School a Safe Place for LGBTQ Students, it talks about how discrimination and harassment are a daily reality for many people, which is true. School is mainly where this type of bullying will occur. In a youth behavior risk survey done in 2017, it showed that 33% of LGBT students experienced bullying on school grounds, and 10% of LGBT students didn't show up at all because of safety concerns. And this, I believe, shows just how much of a problem this really is. These are a lot of the current problems we're having, so let's go over some possible solutions to these problems. And to help me do that, I have Marshall Simon's middle school teacher, Michelle Iovine. Michelle is queer herself and runs the Spectrum Club at the middle school. And for those wondering, a Spectrum Club is an LGBT club. In an article titled Making School a Safe Place for LGBTQ Students, it mentions how the existence of a Spectrum Club can go a long way in that it can be really beneficial for queer students and can help educate both students and staff on the subject. As a middle school teacher, Michelle can provide some insight on what's going on and possible solutions to our main issue. I asked her as a teacher if she herself had seen this type of bullying around the school. She said,
I think I hear things in the hallway, and I have for years, like, faggot or you're so gay, and I know how hurtful that can be.
She also made a point about kids missing school because of fear of harassment that an article about bullying made earlier. She said,
but I still see kids that aren't comfortable with who they are, and I think they don't come to school certain days and a lot of absences.
Michelle also talked about where she felt the main problems lie and what can be done to help.
Well, I think with the teachers in particular in Spectrum Club, students really want to get vocabulary out to teachers. Their pronouns are very important to them, and I think they're feeling sometimes the teachers aren't using them. And I'm not sure if that's just for lack of knowing what to do, or I don't really think it's because they don't want to use them. So I do think that probably vocabulary around LGBTQ nouns. I also think some teachers aren't equipped or comfortable if they see something happening in the hallway. So instead maybe jumping in and saying something, they kind of maybe walk away. Education of the staff first so that it can trickle down to the kids would be best.
Her main solution to help make school more welcoming was to educate staff more on the community. I also asked if she felt we came a long way in recent years. She said,
This year, I think in particular, we've come a long way. There are, non-gender bathrooms. In the gym, as far as dance units, boys don't have to go on one side, girls don't have to go on another, and they're giving them options in the locker room. So I think those types of things are going to make kids feel more comfortable and make them feel that they can be who they are.
I also asked about the Spectrum Club and what kind of an impact she felt it had.
Well, last year we added Spectrum Club, which was huge. And I have to say the administration knew they were retiring, but they really pushed it through. They really wanted us to do it. So we got started the last couple of months of last year. I think it was great that you kids from the high school came in, because I think these kids here saw the progression. That, there's a safe place for me here. There's things I'm going to be able to do in the high school.
This goes along with the article that I was talking about earlier, about how big an impact having a Spectrum Club can have on your school. Michelle made a lot of good points when talking about how to help to make school more welcoming. One point she made was that staff needs to be better educated on the community. An article by the Journal of School Psychology agrees with this point, saying students with at least one trusted adult are better off than those without one. It is important to educate staff on the community so they know how to better handle and respond to situations that involve LGBT topics. With better education of staff and LGBT clubs, schools can be more accepting and welcoming to LGBT students. Also, educating students on the community will help them to understand certain things they may be doing or saying are rude or harmful to people. Another possible solution is a more inclusive curriculum. According to an article by the American Papers, curriculum possesses the potential to influence how kids learn about the LGBT community. Working towards either of these goals will help make school a more welcoming place for LGBT students. And with that, that's the end of the broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and peace out.